Where did it come from?
Yeah.
Well, I guess the earliest nugget of an idea was sort of thinking about natural disasters and my own mortality and the sort of thing that keeps you up at night, you know, and how natural disasters take you out in an instant. You know, you don't see them coming and then you're gone. And I was thinking, well, what if you could reverse that and you could see the thing coming, you still couldn't stop it, but you could prepare. Like, it would make you take stock of your life. Where would you go? Who would you see? What would you do? Who do you truly love? All of those big questions. And ultimately, what would you do if you knew you were going to die? And that is that's the really interesting question behind the film, because we all have our own answer. We all have our own These Final Hours. This is but one character's journey. Like, we've all got our own film, and they would all be very different films. And that's why I think it's sort of a universal sort of crossover with different audiences in different territories, like Spain, for instance, which is great. Seeing how my Australian film is affecting people in places like Spain, it's fantastic.
Yeah, your movie is a great movie. It's very interesting. The way of the main character changed his personality on the film. And what was your reasons to select the main character?
Yeah, I mean, you know, exactly, the film could have followed a scientist or the Prime Minister and what they're doing on the last planet, but I wanted to follow an everyman, you know. I wanted to follow someone that I might know, and I might know James from These Final Hours because, you know, a 30-year-old man who's partying and sort of saying goodbye to his 20s and hello to his 30s and all the things that go with that, like starting to think about what does this life hold for me in the future, and responsibilities and relationships and those sorts of things start to, you know, take hold in your 30s. And I thought, you know, that would be a great everyman to have someone like Nathan Phillips play, because like he had to have that right level of being able to hold himself in a fight, but that right level of vulnerability and sensitivity to let the audience in at the same time. And it's a very delicate balance, and only Nathan could have pulled that off. We auditioned just about every 30-year-old male actor in Australia, and I'd never met him before, but he just blew me away because he just connected with this guy and the journey he was going to go on 100%.
Perhaps it would be more easy
if you
put your mic inside.
Oh yeah, I'm a bit of a... I'll just do that one?
Yes, you would be more relaxed.
Cool.
Well, the girl, amazing. How do you find this girl? Because it's incredible performance.
Yeah, synergy. We made a short film called Transmission just before These Final Hours, and we needed a little girl. And this girl from Perth, where I'm from, where the producer's from, where we shot These Final Hours, this little girl walked in first day of the audition for that short, and she just nailed it. And then as we made that short, which was going to be our little calling card to make These Final Hours anyway, we knew we had found the perfect little girl, and she is just such a rare talent. And I mean, you know, she's doing her next film with playing Ryan Gosling's daughter in Shane Black's The Nice Guys. Like, so she's over in LA now doing that. She's going places, and you know, the fact that we found her when we did, you know, we needed to have a child actor that like was just very level-headed, and she was that person, and just so talented and just amazing to work with.
It's amazing. I want to talk with you about 3 scenes that was very, very, very clever, very incredible to see on screen right now in this moment, that all is very not sophisticated like these scenes. For example, the first scene is when the main character, I don't remember the name of the guy because I saw the movie in July.
Yeah.
Okay. But when the main character arrives to the house of his sister, and you never show the bodies, but the first thing that he do when enter is saw the photo book, and you know that something is happening there. Why do you choose this way to tell this history?
Yeah, I mean, like the rest of the film, like it's about putting the audience in one character's shoes. So he only is privy to certain bits of information that have been either left out for him, like a photo album that he just stumbles across, or like it's all about how he is experiencing things and going around the sister's house. Like that was one of the first scenes I actually wrote when I very first started writing the film, because I had this very clear idea in my head that what that might be like to make those little discoveries, like the shower run in the photo albums, like all these little like the little girl's graves, like all these things that just build and build and build to this conclusion where he makes the horrible discovery that he does. And that's when he also is like, I'm definitely dumping this girl now, I'm going to that party, I'm out of here. But he just can't get away. Like she just manages to stop him from going, which everything sort of really clicked nicely. Even very early on as a script, that hasn't changed too much from when I very first wrote that scene to how it sort of plays out now.
Yeah, it's, for example, at the end of the scene when he saw the girl playing on the park, and the Tom sees there, and it's the beginning of the change of the character there. It's amazing.
Oh, gracias.
The second scene is with the encounter with his mother. It's amazing the way that you choose to tell the story, because never are together on the screen until the end, and the way that you one shot, and the final shot with the two from the back and touching his hand is very delicate. Could you talk me about this scene, please?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the distance you talk about in, like, you know, there is a massive roadblock in their relationship, and there's a lot of the things that are unsaid about, you know, where these two people are coming from. But that's all thrown out the window at the end of their of his visit, because it's the last day on Earth, and even then he still can't quite hug her, but that touch is about as far as their closeness can afford to go. And I think that just the way it was shot, it was almost a subconscious sort of like, the movie's so crazy, but then when we get to the mum's house, everything's very still, everything's very, very slow down. Almost like the world isn't even coming to an end, because she's dealing with it in her own particular way, like all the characters are. Like everyone's got their own sort of reaction, and she's almost like ambivalent to it, you know, which is also why I think it's such an interesting scene, and just says so much about where James has come from by just having this one little vignette, this one little peek inside the family home, and where he's been raised, and who this other woman in his life is, you know, the mum. Yeah, it was all again, like that was one of the earliest things that I wrote, was like discovering that, and then how he was going to convey that to the mum, but in the most horrible way, and he can't. Like he has to create a lie, you know.
The party.
The party.
Yeah, the party. What could you tell me about the party?
The really fun thing about the party was in Australia on the 26th of January, every year is Australia Day, which is like us celebrating ourselves as a nation. And it's become the most debauched, drunken, you know, fights break out in every city. Like there's a lot of bogans, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on. And you know, like I've been a part of those parties, you know. Now the brief for the end of the world party to me was like, okay, the brief is it's the worst Australia Day party you could ever go to. So those kind of people that are at that party, that's not too far removed from what an Australia Day party is like. But you've got Russian roulette, you've got orgies, you've got things that are hyper real, and they're all heightened because it's the last day on Earth. And that was just a lot of fun, like pushing the envelope as far as we could with all the craziness going. Because basically, as those gates open, they descend into the pits of hell, where you're just like, what's he doing? He doesn't belong there anymore. Get out of there. And yeah, it's like our big battle sequence when we go to that party in the middle of the movie. It was crazy. It was 5 days. It was chaos. But again, everyone just lifted their game so much. And even the extras, like, you know, take after take, as it got hotter and hotter, like more girls would take their tops off, and people just got into it so much. But that energy, like, really just is what drove it all home and made it feel like a real party.
Yeah, it's very curious because in this moment, the James changed a lot, because for lose his woman and take care of the girl for the first time seriously.
Yeah.
You know, because the drugs do you give him some specific direction to this scene?
Yeah, well, I mean, the really good thing about the party is by that point, Nathan and Angari, you know, they had this great relationship, and it's the stuff they do between takes where they're just goofing around or whatever. But when you get to the party, he's at one point her protector, but then he just abandons her as well. So shooting that in like week 4 of the shoot, like James already like really felt so protective of Angari, and like it was actually hard for him, like, you know, to like just dismiss her a lot, like when we were filming, because like it's like, I know that you want to protect her right now, but you can't, you know. And once James makes that decision that he's got to find her, like, you know, everything just clicks really nicely there. Yeah, like, I mean, the party is the moment where James goes through a lot, and he has to make the final decision, like, should I stay or should I go? And he's looking around going, I'm in a bunker, like, I'm out of here. I'm gonna do something with the last moments that I have that is meaningful. And yeah, so the party definitely is the big nexus point of the whole film.
This film covers an event that occurs in 12 hours, no?
Yeah.
12 hours. But how many time of your life would you like to spend to this production?
Well, it was, for an Australian film, it was relatively short. It was 5 years from my initial draft to then releasing the film at the Melbourne International Film Festival, like unveiling it there at the premiere. That was only 5 years. Now, you can be working on things in Australia for 10 years, 15 years, but 5 years to cover an 86-minute movie that looks at the last 12 hours, you know, like, a lot of things aligned with this project. Like I've written things that have fallen over as they were trying to get financed or just weren't good enough. But this one, it really felt like everything came together with a very simple, universal story set against a crazy backdrop of Perth on the last day on Earth.
You will spend more 5 times in your next production. Also, I want to see more.
Well, me too. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. I'm hoping that the next one won't take as long.
Well, the next scene, maybe, no, another one. It's when James finds the father of the girl. It's a very dramatic moment. It's the final change. James never is the same guy in this moment. Talking about this scene and what was your directions for making this scene real?
Yeah, that one was like very different to anything else we shot in the film, because it was kind of creepy there in the bush where we shot it, and yeah, I'm just trying to think back to you know, I also like the sister scene. It's about James discovering something, and again, it's always like he's just one step behind. Like again, he's just one step behind, and this is the aftermath. And there's never even explained what has exactly happened. But again, I like those moments in films where a lot of it is left up to you and your interpretation, and where James truly becomes the surrogate dad for Rose now, the living dad. Like she's reunited with the body of the dad, but we know that deep down he is a surrogate father now, and there's nothing he can do about it, and he accepts that. And leaving her there by the body is like, you know, the moment he breaks, like he finally breaks, and like he gets it. He gets that he would have been an alright dad after all, and can he get there in time to Zoe now at the beach? Ooh, look at that.
In this moment, it's very, very interesting the reaction. No, you couldn't see the body, and left the girl behind. It's a very hard moment for him. It's amazing. It's amazing. But my last question about this movie could be, why the end? Why he finds again the girl? Because always expect that he dies alone, without love, without nothing. He loses all his life in this moment.
Yeah.
And finally he recovers the love. No?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I feel like he goes through such a meat grinder, smashed and bashed and crashed, but as he starts making the correct decisions, the things that his moral compass, that is a good moral compass, is telling him, no, do this instead, don't go to the pipe, do this. When he starts listening to that, he's ultimately rewarded. Zoe is still there by the beach, and again, even that isn't easy for him. He gets there and she slaps him in the face. Like, this isn't going to be easy for him, but ultimately he is there in the flesh, and she embraces that. But yeah, like he definitely could have died alone. Maybe Zoe wasn't even at the beach, but I just felt like, okay, this guy needs a break. This guy needs that one little thing. And I love the full circle of, like, he should never have left that beach shack in the first place, but he has to learn that in the hardest of possible ways, a 360-degree loop.
It's very cool because the final shot is the special effects shot that all the movies has, all the movie.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, the decision of only put the special effects in the end of the movie. Exactly,
yeah.
The end of the movie.
The big firework.
Exactly. And the white screen. Amazing. It's incredible because all of us, it was the movie that we talked about during days and days and days and days, and did you see that? And did you see that? And everybody has his scenes, everybody has his thinkings about the movie. It's congratulations, because it's very difficult to do that in these times.
Yeah.
And the final question is, do you have some more footage that we don't see in the movie, maybe in the extras in December when the movie arrives to the stores here in Spain?
Yeah. You know what? Literally, very few things got cut. Like, it is like every single scene that we shot is in the movie. There's, like, you know, bits of dialogue, or maybe this section of a scene isn't in there, but pretty much that's everything. We threw the whole kitchen sink at this film, and everything kind of made the cut. So there aren't too many surprises or alternate endings or anything, any tricks like that. But I wish we did have more content. But no, it's pretty much as is.
And do you have some alternative ending or something in your mind for the movie?
Future project?
No. In this movie, do you have some alternative ending for the movie, or you think, oh, we could choose that or that?
Oh, well, look, there were always variations of, like, you know, he actually takes Rose with him, and it was like exploring, okay, what would that be like? And it just didn't feel right. It just did not feel right. She gets to her final destination, and he has to accept that. And then I was playing around with the idea of, like, okay, what might an afterlife be like? Do I really want a downer ending? Like, what if there was an afterlife? Do we dream forever, or is this heaven? And there was, like, playing around with what that might look like. But it always felt like, no, this is like pulling no punches. It ends, and you're left to embrace that, because, like James, he achieves something meaningful, and that is hopeful. Even though we're all going to die, if you can achieve something like that, that is beautiful, that is hopeful. And so it's sort of a very melancholic feeling at the end.
At this moment, we want to follow all your movies.
Thank you.
Because for sure, I think that you are one director that have a lot of things to tell in the future, and you have a proof with this movie.
Yes.
What are your next projects?
I don't want to say too much, because I hate jinxing things, but I am writing two things. One's genre, one's science fiction, and one isn't at all. One's a character journey. So they're very different projects, and I'm hoping one of them will be the next thing to go.
Please, if you need that, we write somebody. It's only time.
All right, you're on the top of the list. I'll get that sucker in there.
For sure, from this, don't will be a sequel.
No, it's impossible. For that, it's absolutely.
Well, there could be a prequel.
Oh, yes.
But maybe it's not